Letter 185 by Charles Lamb. Jan 2nd, 1810. Mary sends her love. Dear Manning, when I last wrote to you, I was in lodgings. I am now in chambers, number 4 Inner Temple Lane, where I should be happy to see you any evening. Bring any of your friends, the mandarins, with you. I have 2 sitting rooms. I call them so par excellence, for you may stand, or loll, or lean, or try any posture in them. But they are best for sitting, not squatting down Japanese fashion, but the more decorous use of the post, which European usage has consecrated. I have 2 of these rooms on the 3rd floor, and 5 sleeping, cooking, and rooms on the 4th floor. In my best room is a choice collection of the works of Hogarth, an English painter of some humor. In my next best are shelves containing a small but well-chosen library. My best room commands a court, in which there are trees and a pump, the water of which is excellent, cold with brandy, and not very insipid without. Here I hope to set up my rest, and not quit till Mr. Powell, the undertaker, gives me notice that I may have possession of my last lodging. He lets lodgings for single gentlemen. I sent you a parcel of books by my last, to give you some idea of the state of European literature. There comes with this 2 volumes, done up as letters, of minor poetry, a sequel to Mrs. Lester. The best you may suppose mine, the next best are my coadjutors. You may amuse yourself in guessing them out, but I must tell you mine are but 1/3 in quantity of the whole. So much for a very delicate subject. It is hard to speak of one's self and see. Holcroft had finished his life when I wrote to you, and Hazlitt has since finished his life. I do not mean his own life, but he has finished a life of Holcroft, which is going to press. Tuthill is Dr. Tuthill. I continue, Mr. Lamb. I have published a little book for children on titles of honor. And to give them some idea of the difference of rank and gradual rising, I have made a little scale, supposing myself to receive the following various accessions of dignity from the king, who is the fountain of honor. As at first, 1. Mr. C. Lamb, 2. C. Lamb, Esquire, 3. Sir C. Lamb, Bart, 4. Baron Lamb of Stamford, 1. 5. Viscount Lamb, 6. Earl Lamb, 7. Marquis Lamb, 8. Duke Lamb. It would look like quibbling to carry it on further, and especially as it is not necessary for children to go beyond the ordinary titles of subregal dignity in our own country. Otherwise I have sometimes in my dreams imagined myself still advancing, as 9th, King Lamb, 10th, Emperor Lamb, 11th, Pope Innocent, higher than which is nothing but the Lamb of God. Puns I have not made many, nor punch much, since the date of my last, one I cannot help relating. A constable in Salisbury Cathedral was telling me that 8 people dined at the top of the spire of the cathedral, upon which I remarked that they must be very sharp-set. But in general, I cultivate the reasoning part of my mind more than the imaginative. Do you know, Kate, I am stuffed out so with eating turkey for dinner, and another turkey for supper yesterday, turkey in Europe and turkey in Asia, that I can't jog on. It is New Year here. That is, it was New Year half a year back when I was writing this. Nothing puzzles me more than time and space, and yet nothing puzzles me less, for I never think about them. Miss Knapp is turned midwife. Never having had a child herself, she can't draw any wrong analogies from her own case. Doctor Stoddart has had twins. There was 5 shillings to pay the nurse. Mrs. Godwin was impaneled on a jury of matrons last sessions. She saved a criminal's life by giving it as her opinion that the judge listened to her with the greatest deference. The Persian ambassador is the principal thing talked of now. I sent some people to see him worship the sun on Primrose Hill at 6:30 in the morning, 28th November. But he did not come, which makes me think the old fire worshippers are a sect almost extinct in Persia. Have you trampled on the cross yet? The Persian ambassador's name is Shah Ali Mirza. The common people call him Shah Nonsense. While I think of it, I have put 3 letters besides my own 3 into the India post for you, from your brother, sister, and some gentleman whose name I forget. Did they come safe? The distance you are at cuts up tenses by the route. I think you said you did not know Kate. I express her by 9 stars, though she is but 1, but if ever one star differed from another in glory. You must have seen her at her father's. Try and remember her. Coleridge is bringing out a paper in weekly numbers, called The Friend, which I would send, if I could, but the difficulty I had in getting the packets of books out to you before deters me, and you'll want something new to read when you come home. It is chiefly intended to puff off Wordsworth's poetry, but there are some noble things in it by the by. Except Kate, I have had no vision of excellence this year, and she passed by like the Queen on her coronation day. You don't know whether you saw her or not. Kate is 15. I go about moping, and sing the old pathetic ballad I used to like in my youth. She's sweet 15, I'm 1 year more. Mrs. Bland sung it in boy's clothes the first time I heard it, I sometimes think the lower notes in my voice are like Mrs. Eland's. That glorious singer Braham, one of my lights, is fled. He was for a season. He was a rare composition of the Jew, the gentleman, and the angel, yet all these elements mixed up so kindly in him that you could not tell which predominated. But he is gone, and one Phillips is engaged instead. Kate is vanished, but Miss B is always to be met with. Queens drop away, while blue-legged Mockin thrives, and courtly Mildred dies while country Madge survives. That is not my poetry, but Quarles's. But haven't you observed that the rarest things are the least obvious? Don't show anybody the names in this letter. I write confidentially, and wish this letter to be considered as private. Hazlitt has written a grammar for Godwin. Godwin sells it bound up with a treatise of his own on language, but the grey mare is the better horse. I don't allude to Mrs. Godwin, but to the word grammar, which comes near to grey mare if you observe in sound. That figure is called paranomasia in Greek. I am sometimes happy in it. An old woman begged of me for charity. Ah, sir, said she, I have seen better days. So have I, good woman, I replied, but I meant literally days not so rainy and overcast as that on which she begged. She meant more prosperous days. Mr. Daw is made Associate of the Royal Academy. By what law of association I can't guess. Mrs. Holcroft, Miss Holcroft, Mr. and Mrs. Godwin, Mr. and Mrs. Hazlitt, Mrs. Martin and Louisa, Mrs. Lum, Capt. Burney, Mrs. Burney, Martin Burney, Mr. Rickman, Mrs. Rickman, Dr. Stoddart, William Dollin, Mr. Thompson, Mr. and Mrs. Norris, Mr. Fenwick, Mrs. Fenwick, Miss Fenwick, a man that saw you at our house one day, and a lady that heard me speak of you. Mrs. Buffum that heard Hazlitt mention you, Dr. Tuthill, Mrs. Tuthill, Colonel Harwood, Mrs. Harwood, Mr. Collier, Mrs. Collier, Mr. Sutton, nurse, Mr. Fell, Mrs. Fell, Mr. Marshall are very well and occasionally inquire after you. Rest cut away. I have published a little book. This was, of course, an invention. In the Elia essay on Poor Relations, Lamb says that his father's boyhood was spent at Lincoln, and in Susan Yates' story in Mrs. Lester's school, we see the Lincolnshire fens, but of the history of the family we know nothing. I fancy Stamford is a true touch. The Persian ambassador. A portrait of this splendid person is preserved at the India Office. Leigh Hunt says that Dyer was among the pilgrims to Primrose Hill. Kate, I have not identified this young lady. The old pathetic ballad, I have not found this. Mrs. Bland. Maria Theresa Bland, 1769–1838, a Jewess and a mezzo-soprano famous in simple ballads, who was connected with Drury Lane for many years. Braham is fled. Braham did not sing in London in 1810, but joined Mrs. Billington in a long provincial tour. Phillips was Thomas Phillips, 1774–1841, singer and composer. Miss B. Miss Burrell, see note to letter of Feb. 1818. Not my poetry but Quarles's. In an elegy, stanza 16, Lamb does not quote quite correctly. Hazlitt's Grammar, a new and improved grammar of the English tongue, by William Hazlitt, to which is added a new guide to the English tongue by Edward Baldwin, William Godwin, published by M. J. Godwin, 1810. A woman begged of me. Lamb told this story at the end of his Elia essay, A Complaint of the Decay of Beggars, in the London Magazine, June, 1822, but the passage was not reprinted in book form. See Vol. Roman II. Of this edition, George Daw was made ARA in 1809, not RA until 1814. Of the friends on Lamb's list, we have already met several. Mr. and Mrs. Norris were the Randall Norrises. Dr. Stoddart, having left Malta, was now practicing in Doctors' Commons. Mr. and Mrs. Collier were the John Dyer Colliers, the parents of John Payne Collier, who introduced Lamb to Henry Crabb Robinson. Both Colliers were journalists. Thompson may be Marmaduke Thompson of Christ's Hospital. We meet some Buffams later in the Moxon correspondence. Mr. Marshall was Godwin's friend. Of Mrs. Lum, Mr. Dollin, Colonel and Mrs. Harwood, and Mr. Sutton, I know nothing.